Have you dedicated your entire life to building a massive real estate empire, believing that physical property is the ultimate financial legacy you can leave to your children? For generations, the global elite accumulated vast expanses of land and luxury real estate as the primary vehicle for preserving their bloodline wealth. However, the macroeconomic reality of 2026 has fundamentally transformed this traditional strategy. Passing down a $10 million physical property portfolio is no longer a guaranteed blessing. It has mathematically devolved into a catastrophic financial burden for the next generation. Real estate is entirely bound to physical geography, making it the absolute easiest target for desperate governments seeking to confiscate wealth through aggressive taxation. Today we are going to completely deconstruct the severe, hidden liabilities of physical dirt and reveal why the smartest money on earth is aggressively migrating their multi-generational dynasties into absolute digital scarcity. The fundamental delusion surrounding physical real estate is the concept of absolute ownership. Even when you have completely paid off the mortgage on a $10 million luxury estate, you never truly own the underlying asset. You are merely renting it from the local government through an endless and continuously escalating system of property taxes. If your children inherit this massive physical structure, they immediately inherit the immense financial friction required to maintain it. They must constantly fund expensive structural repairs, deal with increasing insurance premiums, and manage the continuous legal liabilities of property ownership. Over a 10-year horizon, these unavoidable operational expenses and aggressive wealth taxes systematically drain the equity right out of the building. High net worth individuals are actively recognizing that physical property acts as an inescapable wealth trap, designed specifically to siphon capital away from successful families and redistribute it into the hands of bureaucratic institutions. Furthermore, physical real estate suffers from the fatal flaw of absolute geographic immobility. In an increasingly volatile geopolitical landscape, being permanently anchored to a specific jurisdiction is a terrifying liability for multi-generational wealth. If the government of the country where your property resides decides to drastically alter its tax code, implement severe capital controls, or seize private assets, your $10 million legacy is instantly trapped. You absolutely cannot pack up a luxury skyscraper and move it across international borders to a more favorable economic climate. The global elite demand absolute financial mobility, and physical property inherently denies them this critical survival mechanism. They refuse to allow the future prosperity of their descendants to be held hostage by the unpredictable political whims of local politicians, or the macroeconomic failure of a single geographic region. This profound vulnerability in traditional legacy planning is exactly why the top 1% are executing a massive structural shift toward Bitcoin. They no longer view cryptocurrency as a volatile technology play, they recognize it as pristine digital real estate with absolute mathematical scarcity. When you secure $10 million in Bitcoin, you acquire an indestructible asset that requires absolutely zero maintenance, zero insurance, and zero physical security guards. It does not age, it does not decay, and it cannot be destroyed by natural disasters. Most importantly, Bitcoin exists entirely outside of the traditional banking matrix and beyond the physical jurisdiction of any sovereign state. By holding the cryptographic private keys, your family dynasty possesses absolute uncompromised ownership of the asset. You can instantly transport $1 billion of purchasing power anywhere on the planet purely by memorizing a sequence of 12 specific words. We have now reached the absolute most critical juncture in understanding how multi-generational wealth will be preserved over the next decade. You might already be recognizing the severe friction of physical property and contemplating a strategic allocation into digital assets. However, there is a highly secretive estate planning protocol involving Bitcoin that the global elite use to legally and seamlessly bypass the devastating impact of inheritance taxes. This specific cryptographic engineering allows billionaires to transfer their entire legacy to their children, with absolute zero friction and complete anonymity. If you navigate away from this briefing right now, your children will remain fully exposed to the predatory wealth confiscation systems designed to destroy their inheritance. But if you choose to stay, you will unlock the final architectural secret of elite succession planning. The undeniable reality of traditional inheritance is that the state aggressively positions itself as the primary beneficiary of your lifelong labor. When transferring a $10 million physical estate, your heirs are immediately subjected to predatory death taxes, prolonged legal battles, and highly public probate courts that expose your family wealth to societal envy and opportunistic predators. Bitcoin completely revolutionizes and digitizes the entire concept of succession planning. The global elite utilize highly sophisticated multi-signature cryptographic vaults to secure their legacy. They can programmatically distribute the private keys among trusted family members and specialized legal fiduciaries across entirely different global jurisdictions. Upon their passing, the digital wealth is instantly and seamlessly accessed by their designated heirs without ever requiring permission from a centralized banking authority, or surrendering a massive percentage of their capital to a slow and incredibly expensive legal bureaucracy. Beyond the superior mechanics of wealth protection, we must objectively analyze the mathematical growth potential of these two vastly different asset classes over the next decade. The appreciation of physical real estate is severely constrained by collapsing global demographics, rising interest rates, and the absolute inability of the younger generation to afford massively inflated property values. Conversely, the value of Bitcoin is directly correlated to the undeniable and infinite expansion of global fiat liquidity. As desperate central banks continue to aggressively print paper currency to monetize insurmountable sovereign debt, the price of absolute digital scarcity must exponentially rise to absorb that excess capital. A $10 million real estate portfolio will struggle to maintain its real purchasing power against severe inflation, while a $10 million Bitcoin allocation is mathematically engineered to aggressively capture and amplify that exact same macroeconomic expansion. The true measure of a successful legacy is not simply transferring capital but transferring absolute freedom to the next generation. When you leave your children a massive physical property empire, you are effectively forcing them to become full-time real estate managers. You are tying them to a specific geographic location and binding their mental bandwidth to the endless mundane problems of physical asset management. By transitioning your wealth into Bitcoin, you grant your heirs the ultimate luxury of absolute geographic independence and profound psychological liberation. They can travel the world, pursue their own unique passions, and live completely unburdened by physical possessions, while their digital inheritance silently and securely compounds in cyberspace. This allows your descendants to utilize their immense wealth as a pure tool for personal actualization, rather than becoming permanent caretakers of your physical monuments. The debate between physical dirt and digital gold has already been decisively concluded by the smartest money on the planet. We are currently witnessing the largest asset managers in the world, including titans like BlackRock, aggressively launching institutional infrastructure to securely accumulate and custody Bitcoin for their ultra-high net worth clients. These financial behemoths are explicitly recognizing that digital scarcity is the premium reserve asset of the 21st century. They are advising their elite clients to significantly reduce their exposure to illiquid commercial real estate and systematically increase their allocation to the pristine cryptographic ledger. When the architects of the global financial system fundamentally abandon physical property in favor of a decentralized digital network, you must immediately align your family portfolio with this undeniable macroeconomic reality or risk complete generational obsolescence. The absolute blueprint for preserving your legacy and ensuring your bloodline thrives in the new digital economy is now perfectly resting in your hands. But this highly advanced macroeconomic knowledge requires immediate and uncompromising execution. The era of building generational wealth exclusively through physical bricks and mortar is permanently over. The window of opportunity to migrate your capital into absolute digital scarcity before the massive institutional herd fully arrives is rapidly closing. You must entirely reject the outdated financial dogmas of the past and demand the absolute sovereign protection of Bitcoin for your descendants. Begin restructuring your estate planning today to ensure your family dynasty remains completely untouchable by taxes, borders, and inflation. If this high-level macroeconomic briefing has fundamentally upgraded your perspective, make sure to subscribe to Golden Wealth. Protect your legacy, stay sovereign, and remain golden.